It's just after 3 o'clock. Thank you very much for staying on the channel. Good afternoon. I'm Masego Rahlaga, coming to you live from our Hyde Park studios. We do have my colleague Bradan Moyane, who is live for us at Nasrec. Well, you have a new top 7 leadership of the ANC, with President Cyril Ramaphosa being re-elected as party president. He is expected to lead the ANC for the next 5 years. Paul Mashatile has been elected as his deputy, and Gwede Mantashe has been re-elected as the national chairperson of the party. The position of Secretary General will now be filled by Fikile Mbalula, and the first and second deputy secretary generals will be filled by Nomvula Mokonyane and Marupeni Ramokgopa, respectively. The ANC's Treasurer General is now Gwen Ramokgopa, who is the first woman to take up that position. Let's go to our reporters now who are on the ground for us. Pule, Letshwiti-Jones and Faith Daniels are on the ground in Nasrec. Pule, let me start with you with some of the reaction that you're getting on the floor there.
Yeah. You know, Masego, it's been definitely one challenging conference, one challenging, obstacles that have been for the members who have organized this conference as well, starting from when the registration processes had commenced. You'd remember that we had camped almost the whole day and, of course, into the following morning when members and, of course, some ANC delegates were frustrated with the system, saying that they'd been experiencing, technical issues, some saying load shedding also had an impact. But, of course, now we finally hear where the leadership of the ANC, including the top 7, has been elected. We saw the nominations unfold just the day before yesterday. Also, again, thrilled with a lot of, heckling, chanting, and others saying that the nomination process dragged for too long. But the Electoral Committee, as well as other members of the ANC, had made sure that they try and deliver this process of having to ensure that the top 7 is nominated before going through a process of nominating additional members for the National Executive Committee. So now we're joined by the Secretary of the Electoral Committee of the ANC, Chief Mashatile. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Chief, we're here now. The top 7 has been nominated, but of course this journey has been marred by a lot of challenges. What was it? What are some of the things that challenged the Electoral Committee?
No, I think the delays that started with the branch general meetings, where members of the ANC were nominating their leaders for selection now in December, really meant that we should have a compacted program as the Electoral Committee, because we had planned our work well, but those delays impacted somewhat negatively on us. But the good thing is that we were able to catch up with our work, which has resulted in us successfully ensuring that the branch delegates here vote successfully for their top 7 leadership of the African National Congress. I think that's the most important issue, because as we speak, the conference has adopted the voting of the top 7 leaders of the African National Congress at the NEC level. And as it is, it is an undisputed outcome of a national conference of the ANC.
And again, what are some of the things you've learned from this process, especially the registration part of things, frustrated delegates, and of course, one must also say you've come under a lot of scrutiny for some of the decisions you would have taken. But of course, that's the nature of the work you do. What are some of the things you've learned?
I think what has been a big lesson for us is that it is important to always keep members of the ANC informed of your rules and processes. As we have seen, we have published quite a number of rules and processes and kept on communicating them at various platforms, especially in the media, so that people are educated as to what rules apply in conference. And that sometimes resulted in disputes that were generated by misunderstanding by some of our leaders and members. And once we have explained those processes, our members and leaders, understood what it entails to be involved in a conference of this nature. And we think that most of the disputes have disappeared, finally. And as you can see, there is general acceptance of what is going on at conference. And it started as a heated conference. It's normal for conference to be heated as long as it does not degenerate into a uncontrolled kind of chaos.
I mean, you speak about almost degenerating into uncontrolled chaos. Would you say there was sort of sinister motive to try and do that? I mean, there were those who were attempting to bring other suspended members through, and you also said, really, this could have affected your work?
No, I don't think that there were people who, whose motive would have been to collapse the conference. It is just that the heated nature of contestation sometimes becomes so emotive, such that people, become emotionally uncontrollable. But comrades were called to order. They came to their senses, and the conference proceeded amicably.
Just last one before you go, you're now going into the process of additional members for the NEC committee as well. Are you ready for this? Do you think this process will be smooth? Because, one must also say you also have been challenged in terms of keeping things to time and being on time as well. Are you hopeful that this conference will adjourn by tomorrow and everything will be done in time?
Yes, we are confident, because what delayed the voting process were the voters' roll, which are now available arising from the credentials of the conference, which were adopted. So, as soon as we have finished the nominations of the additional 240, nominees from the floor, what we say is that, the conference delegates are going to be given an opportunity to nominate more names, if they wish so, onto the list that we have of about 240 additional nominees, from which we will then select the top 80 additional members of the NEC of the African National Congress. So once that is done, we'll then proceed to print the voters' roll and then begin immediately with the voting process, which will be concluded somewhere in midnight, and then we'll go into the counting process until early hours of the morning, with the view that by midday tomorrow we'll be able then to publish the results before conference for adoption, and then the new NEC will then dissolve the conference.
Thank you very much, and all the best with your work.
Thank you so much for the time, as usual.
That's Chief Mashatile, the Secretary of the Electoral Committee of the ANC, Maseko.
All right, Pule, Letshwiti-Jones, we have just been joined by senior reporter Sipa Mandlakoke. But Sipa, before I come to you, I'm going to go to Faith Daniels. Faith, any reaction you've been able to get there?
And just before I get to the reaction, Maseko, the top 7 obviously leading the bulletins throughout the day. But if you had sight of the ANC's organizational report, it will tell you the tale of an organization that understands the uphill battle that it faces, not just for the top 7 now, but also for the incoming new NEC members. And just to get a better understanding of that reaction and what that uphill battle is going to be like, especially in the Western Cape, I'm joined by the ANC spokesperson in the Western Cape, Mr. Mr. Ntweni, just your reaction to Cyril Ramaphosa being re-elected president of the organization, first of all, because when we spoke Saturday, you were very resolute that the Western Cape is behind him.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the viewers. Indeed, we want to take this opportunity on behalf of the membership of the ANC in the Western Cape, entire membership and the delegation, to congratulate President Cyril Ramaphosa as well as the entire collective of the national officials. We want to also congratulate the branches who've really taken the mandate and gave it to the delegates. Delegates arrived here, became disciplined, and did exactly what was expressed in the nominations, which was to elect President Cyril Ramaphosa overwhelmingly. And we believe that the time now has come to unite the ANC. The last 5 years has been quite turbulent, and we think that the moment to unite the ANC and really get down to work in dealing with the many challenges that the country faces is now. And of course, good luck to the rest of the nominees for the additionals.
Your reaction to the rest of the Super 7 as they are known now?
Well, well deserved, all of them. I think democracy has prevailed. One thing that has kept the ANC alive for so many years, 112 years, is because of its vibrant democratic culture. Sometimes people tend to use that as almost an implosion. I mean, just 2 days ago, the whole country was at a knife edge. What's going to happen? And the will of the branches happened. Democracy indeed took place. Congratulations to Comrade Paul Mashatile as the Deputy President. Congratulations to Comrade Fikile Mbalula, the Razzmatazz, the Humdinger, really a person who's vibrant, who's going to bring life to Lutuli House, and of course Comrade Ramaphosa, the youngest member of the top 7, quite positive. Now the ANC is starting to move and reflect the demographics of our society. Congratulations as well to the newly elected Treasurer General, Dr. Gwede Ramaphosa, who's really went into Lutuli House, was part of the coordination of the SGO, which has led obviously to this conference. We've had an absence of the SGO, which has really created a lot of problems, but I do think that as a seasoned cadre who has served in many capacities, MEC, she's led in Gauteng, we think that she will bring the necessary capacity to resolve all the challenges that are in the treasury of the ANC.
Let's talk about the NEC members that are now going to be elected. Yeah. You don't have representation in the Western Cape in terms of the top 7. Yes. What is your wish and what are you pushing in terms of the NEC? Well,
of course, we did have a nominee in the top 7. Comrade Ronalda Nalumangu is currently the provincial coordinator. Good showing, by the way, but the will of the branches have been expressed. Of course, as we go into the additional 80 members, we will make sure that there's young people, there's geographic spread, but there's also the question of other minority sections of our society also being represented, because the ANC has to represent society as a whole. You can't have one section of society not being represented. So one of the things we really want to push, 50-50 gender parity, geographic spread. There must be leaders from the Western Cape that will be part of that particular leadership, and we'll make sure that that actually happens.
Is that possible, though? You talk about this unity, etc. The organizational report of the ANC talks about that, talks about the distrust, right, and the trust deficit that the electorate has with the party, especially in the Western Cape. How are you going to go about restoring that?
Well, the first thing we needed to do is to correct the ANC internally, because the problem is that when the ANC is a bit unstable, society becomes unstable. The ANC is a reflection of society. All these 4,500, 600 delegates that are here are coming from the broad section of our society. And what we need to do first, President Cyril Ramaphosa needs to heal the ANC. He needs to make sure that his election is used to unite the ANC. There must not be winners, there must not be losers. The ANC must be ultimately the winner. We're going towards 2024. We need a focused ANC, a united ANC. So for those comrades who did not make it, I think the first thing that the officials need to do, they need to go there and make sure that they integrate the comrades into the work of the ANC. Only then will society start trusting us again. Because how do they trust us when they see us fighting?
Okay, I hear you. But don't you need all of that within the Western Cape where you are?
Well, the Western Cape has been doing quite well for some time, Faith, as I said quite a few days ago. By the way, we've been winning by-elections of late because the ANC in the Western Cape is showing some signs of stability. We've had 4 regional conferences, incident-free, no contest in those conferences. We're left with 2. We're going to have them in the early year. No incidences, no contestation. By the time we get to the provincial conference, the outlook of the ANC in the Western Cape will reflect.
And you're taking your time to get to that provincial conference?
No, we're almost there. We're not taking time. Remember, by the time we were appointed, it was just on the eve of COVID-19. So we had to obviously go back. When we came out of COVID-19, there was 2021 elections. We had to arrange those elections. Immediately after that, that's when the work started. And I'm saying to you, the organizational report that you refer to says that the membership of the ANC in the Western Cape has been the fastest growing membership. In fact, if you look at all the provinces, others have dropped, the Western Cape has gone up.
But what base are we working from?
Well, we're working from that base of those branches. Now, what we want the Dala Oma, particularly the Cape Metro, to actually go to its conference, make sure that it's got the leadership there. Because if you look at other regions, Central Karoo, we run in the municipalities there. You go to the Garden Route, Neisner, Oudtshoorn, all those areas, we run in those municipalities there. You go into the West Coast, we are in coalition with other organizations. So there are pockets of the societies in the Western Cape that have given their trust to the ANC. And we've done quite well. But what is important, we need to get into the Cape Metro, because that's where the biggest population of the Western Cape is found, and we need to get our house in order. And I'm sure I can tell you now, Faith, please call me again in 2024, and I'm going to tell you that firstly, we want to take the DA out of 50%. We'll work with other organizations to ensure that there's a coalition government.
You understand how that sounds now, right? You understand that it sounds like an almost impossibility, especially in the Western Cape, where you are the opposition.
Well, it sounded impossible just before 2021 local government elections, where the DA ran 39 municipalities. Today, the DA is running less than 25 municipalities in that particular province. It sounded like a bit of a story when we said we'll take the 2/3 from the city of Cape Town, from the DA. The DA is no longer heavy. It's not even, it's under 60%. What I'm saying, it sounded like a story when we said we're going to take Witzenberg municipality. We've taken it. It sounded like a story when we said we're going to take Knysna municipality. We have taken it. So what we're saying is that we are getting our house in order. 2024, we're not saying we're going to be an absolute government. We're simply saying our aim is to take the DA below 50%. And let me tell you something. People of the Western Cape have woken up to the fact that the DA is. The DA is building bicycle lanes in Constantia, in all those areas. When you look at Khayelitsha, there's sewerage running around the streets. When you go to Langa, the biggest murder capital in the country, when you go everywhere else, people are still using Portaloo toilets. So the DA really doesn't give a damn about the people and the poor in the Western Cape. And it is those people that are actually going to come out and take the DA out of power.
But you don't have to govern to make those changes where you are.
Yes.
I mean, you list these issues. Surely the ANC can do something about it as well.
Well, of course, we've got a cooperative governance system. And let me tell you, the DA wants a federal province in the Western Cape, because you know that there's a district development model that government actually put in place, all districts across the country. I can tell you now, the DA in the Western Cape has refused to cooperate with the question of the DDM. When you look at the policing, you know that all metros in South Africa have got metro police, they've got law enforcement agencies. The DA has simply refused to cooperate with the South African Police Service in order to deal with issues of crime in that particular area. So in essence, you've got a government of the DA in the Western Cape that refuses to be part of the government in the country. There are many programs that we have done. The fishing communities, we've given licenses. The farming communities there, we've given lots of land back to those communities. We've given them supplements. They are doing farming. In areas where we are governing, by the way, we are building houses, we're putting in infrastructure, we're putting in water. So those areas, that's why they keep on electing us. But of course, we had problems in the Western Cape. And those problems have resulted in us losing power. And we are saying we've now identified all those problems. We are working towards regaining ground in that particular province.
He is the ANC Western Cape spokesperson, talking through the challenges that they have now that we are uncertainty over the top 7 of the ANC. Well, let's see what happens in the Western Cape.